The Methodist Church, a church deriving from those which joined the Methodist Conference, first established in 1784 by John Wesley. They are now spread worldwide, promoting evangelical and social concern. John Wesley is the father of the Methodist Church. He went on to using more methodology in his ways of teaching. People really liked the way he taught. He did over like 40,000 different preaches by the end of his life. I think he died in his 80s. Methodism has its roots in really two factors. The first is that Methodists become very skilled at creating like a variety of intense religious experiences that they make the focal point of their worship. The second factor is that they learn how to essentially channel the favor that they want into a well-structured organization. But these two strategies were super useful for reaching out to the British classes and the industrial workers who were being ignored already by the church at that time. The church I went to was St. Luke's United Methodist Church. So there are two different types of services offered at St. Luke's. The first one is their traditional service. I went to the contemporary service. Contemporary services are a little bit more evangelical. So when I got to the church, I saw a lot of people being very friendly to each other. At the very beginning of the service, they had everyone stand up, shake hands, say good morning. And the lady in front of us, I went to go shake her hand, and she was looking around and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking for a friend." Everybody's friendly to each other, everybody's friends with each other. Everybody was dressed very casually, and I just wore a sweatshirt and jeans, and I fit right in. That was about the average dress up. There's an occasional person who dressed nice, but for the most part, everybody's very casual. When looking at a lot of the people, a lot of them were young. A lot of them were families with young kids. I think most people had a family member with them. There weren't as many people by themselves. I would say there's about 50-50 men and women. This church is located in Indianapolis, and it's just a tiny bit outside of Carmel, Indiana. So I saw a lot of nice cars like Lexuses, Toyotas, BMWs. It was definitely a mega church, so there was a lot of cars there. So I am not an architect, but I will tell you this building was new. It looks new. They definitely keep it up to date. It was all brick. It's an all brick building. There's these cool little bells that they have. It's like this giant building, and then they have this little arch and bells are under it. One thing I realized about the building is they have ads everywhere, so on the side of the building. And one cool thing you'll see is the parking lot, instead of saying lot 1, lot 2, lot 3, it would say something like faith. So there's kind of like hidden messages, I guess, kind of in there. Just even in your parking lot, you're going to be reminded that you're at church. There's a little garden outside the entrance. I wasn't quite sure whose names were on there. I would assume they were people who were important to the church. And on the inside, it had murals, and it had a shop in it. It had a restaurant in it. It was multi-leveled, but there definitely was a large reminder that you are in church. The first thing you realize is that the ceiling is high up, and it has windows, so it lets natural light kind of fall down. And then it also has, on the side, it has some stained glass. On the ceiling, you also have like professional lighting, which is interesting. There's cameras around. In the back, they have like a little projector that says, that displays all the songs. You could tell that they were using light as like a way to display emotion, which I thought was pretty cool. Music was very present. They have a live band. And I believe it's just members of the church. So there was a very clear message to me about the service. They used a lot of pop music with a message that Jesus, he does so much for us. All we can do is, give back. Songs about generosity was one of the songs that just talked about like being generous. One cool thing they did is they did like a morning announcements. It was just like this pre-produced video where they announced all the events that are coming up. One of the quotes he used at the very beginning is that a blessed life is a generous life.
We think about how a blessed life is a generous life.
He talks about like regifting a gift and how you can kind of like tell that when a gift is regift, it doesn't really take any care. But the main idea is that his generosity is key. Generosity is what God wants you to do. And he wanted you to pledge essentially money to the church. So in everybody's pew there was a little generosity card. He gave a lot of examples of how like the money they use genuinely goes to good. They donated tons of food. They have their own food pantry. They've donated a lot of diapers. They did like a diaper drive. One thing I found really interesting is that they talked about how they help people who are on the LGBTQ community, and they're accepting of the people in the LGBTQ community. Essentially, the main idea is they wanted you to commit some money. They justified it through saying God wants you to be generous, but they also justified it by saying we only do good with this money. We're not necessarily building onto our church and making it bigger and better. We're actually doing good for the community. As far as rituals, there literally was basically none. There was not many rituals happening. They had a cross, they had a Bible. I'm very used to there being a
communion.
Every church you have a
Communion.
There was not that here. They did use quotes and parts of the Bible to lead their message of that day. When I looked at the people, there were some people who, had their hands up, kind of looking up. I saw one person, the person in front of me was taking notes. And afterwards I realized a lot of people went to go talk to the preacher. What I found is that this place is a community. Everybody seems to probably go here often enough that they know everyone or they know most people. I like that, honestly. I was pleasantly surprised by the amazingness that is St. Luke. I really enjoyed my time there. I am Catholic, so I wasn't quite used to how the service ran. And the references made from the Bibles and the quotes used were very interesting and very inspiring. So I was pleasantly surprised by St. Luke's.